taxes today. But before talking about tax reform, I want to start with this question. Why I want to start with this question is because we exclusively work with realtors and investors, and we have a lot of realtors coming to us, and what we realize when they are early in business, a lot of times they have no idea how taxes work and get a huge shock. So if you are more experienced and well familiar with that, bear with me, we're coming back to that. But I want to show you something that I'm going to take my gloves off so it gets a little easier to operate computer. So what we're going to do right now is look at how tax returns, that will be a little small right now, but how tax returns look for real estate, for realtors. Okay, so what we're going to do here is this. Thanks. Okay, good enough. Where your realtor business will be reported to the IRS is on this page. This page at the top of the page is called Schedule C. And at the top of that page where you start, you see that number 80,000. That's your gross commissions. So hopefully you can make that much, and you are getting 80,000. Then there is a bottom part here. And the bottom part, which is part 2, lists this. See what it says right there, the word expenses? There are 2 columns where you start listing everything that you spend being a realtor on expenses that are necessary to run your business. A lot of time we get a question, so what can I deduct? Guys, the simplest answer to that question is go on the IRS website, download that Schedule C. Basically, this is your answer. There are 2 columns, left and right, and they list you, starting at the top, advertising, current track expenses, commissions and fees, and so on. So you have like 27 lines here that have different headings and give you an idea what can you deduct. Now, we're not going to spend time today to go into details of how those expenses are calculated. But if you are interested, what I want you to do, I'll send in a second a sign-up board. If you give me your email address, we will send you links, because what we filmed are 4 webinars. They are free, 4 webinars specifically for realtors, where I go into details of how exactly you deduct your driving, how exactly you deduct your home office, how exactly you deduct business travel and entertainment, so those types of issues. Anybody here is interested in that information? Anybody wants to know that? Okay, then when I send in a second sign-up board around, like the clipboard, please put there your email address and we will send you links from my office later today, which gives you access to those webinars. So today I just want to give you big picture idea. So remember 80,000 was at the top, right? Now we listed all these expenses. Can anybody see how much was total expense? Right here we're looking at the number, 37, right? 37 and some change. So 37 was what you spent. So let's round it and make it roughly 40. You with me? So you made 18 commissions and 40 of whatever expenses. By the way, there is a line that says other expenses, and on the second page of that form, you can actually list those expenses that did not have a special line. So the second page of that form gives you a place to list all kinds of categories for which you didn't find line. So sometimes people say, well, but on Schedule C there is no room for classes and education. What do I do there? Well, you can put classes and seminars on the second page, then you get total of 12, and those 12 will go up into the general expenses area. So, yeah. Should have hooked up my computer, would have been a little bit fast. Do you know how to get to the very top of, because I don't know page up on your computer. Oh, wait a second. Got it? Thanks. Okay. But here is what happens. At the end of the day, what you are taxed on is 42. 42 was the number of your commissions after expenses. That's a very simple concept, but I want everybody to clearly understand it. Commissions that you earn is not what you are taxed on. What you are taxed on is commissions minus all these expenses, which means what do you want to do with all your expenses? Well, somebody said before, like, I want to have more expenses. No, I know, that's not what I'm talking about. You want to control your expenses. What do you want to do with them?
Keep records of them?
Yeah, exactly. Keep record of them. Track them. Because if you don't do that, what happens is that number will be higher than necessary. If that number is higher than necessary, what else is higher than necessary? What you pay this guy, right? So, but now we go on the second page and seeing so what happens with this 42,000? That's where there is tons of confusion, and that's what I want to make very clear for you to understand. So, we start with 40,000 at the top. Then there are a couple deductions there, and I'm going to bring your attention to those numbers because they will be important once in a couple minutes we start talking about the tax reform. Do you see line 40, which has about 6,000? Line 40 is called standard deduction. So I imagine that this client is single. Every single person gets 6,000 freebie, standard deduction. Let's just keep that number in mind for a minute, and we'll return to that shortly. Then line 42 deducts another 4,000, which is called exemption. So basically you take off 6, take off 4, that's 10 together. And your 40 becomes 30, if you look at line 43. So 30 is what is actually being taxed, and then the tax is calculated, and that's the tax on line 47, 4,000. A lot of people do that calculation and thinking is, okay, that's not bad. I made 80,000 in commissions, 40,000 left after expenses, and my tax is 4,000. I'm going to pay the IRS 4,000. Would it be okay with you? Would you mind paying 4,000 on that type of income to the IRS? Okay. Actually, I should say, if you can get away with that, take it. That would be a great deal. In reality, what people don't realize is that we need to scroll a little bit down there and look at line 57. Line 57 there is called self-employment tax. What is that? That's the other half of the deal, which takes from your paycheck, or your commissions in this case, taxes for two other things. Who knows what they are for? Social Security and Medicare, exactly. Social Security and Medicare. So income tax was only part of that. Now we add to 4,006. How that 6 is calculated? That is roughly 15% of the 40. Remember 40,000 after expenses? You take 15% of that, that's 6. So you get 4 of income tax, 6 of self-employment. So at the end of the day, the check you have to write to the IRS is this, 10 grand.